My name is Heili. I'm from Estonia, and my connection to creative writing has never been put in words before. I have written a diary when I was younger. I love to make lists for myself. I can just use 2 hours to make 3 lists that I have to do, so I won't forget things. I wouldn't call it creative writing because it's this kind of practical writing for me. But I have realized that diary writing doesn't need to be only when you're a teenager, because then it helps you get through your problems, but the same way you can do it when you're older. At some point I used to love writing letters, and I did it, well, I would say weekly, but it was 6 years ago and then it all stopped. I just thought that I don't have the time for it because it's not important. But now, after not writing for a while, not attending university where I have to write, then I have realized that writing has some kind of this therapeutic power over me. But if you write, then you can't do anything else besides it at the same time. So it's no multitasking if you're writing, and I think it's an amazing feeling. And that's why when I looked at this training brochure at first, I was surprised, like 7 full days full of writing, really? That sounds like a paradise. And that's why I applied in the first place. Okay, so I think the method we used, the sandwich writing, where you put first the good, then the bad, then the good one again, it really helped to solve a problem in my head, because I started at one point where I had no clue what I want to write in the second or the third part, but then it somehow came so naturally that, okay, I have written about the good thing, and now I find that there's actually so many bad things about the same topic. So I wrote about the bad things, and in the third part I actually found the solutions to most of the problems I raised to myself in the second part. So I think that's a really easy method to use if you find yourself stuck somewhere, because otherwise you might just make a pro and con list, but it doesn't help you solve things. It just makes them like on paper so you can see them. But by adding the third part, then it's kind of like the solution or conclusions of the typical pro and con list. So I think everything about just taking the time and to write would already help every people. Well, for sure it's the thing that you're being understood and the way you want to be understood. Because if we say things, we can say them in so many different ways, and we don't think, like, is it understandable only one way? But if you write something down, then most probably you will read what you wrote. So you will have to think about whether it can be understood only one way, or are there many definitions or understandings how you can read this sentence, or do you have to rewrite it? Does everyone understand the sentence the same way? Because in YFU we have the problem that we can't think outside of the box, because we use our own acronyms and so-called our own slang. So to get the outer view of what we write or what we say, we always write them down, and then it's like, yeah, but you can't use this word in a newsletter if you're sending it out, because no one will understand what it means. So I think writing down things gives us the possibility to analyze what we do, and it's always good. And yeah, I do work with many different target groups. So currently my head is full of ideas. I have written down so many like this just marks on my notebook that I want to like open up and write down, but just either didn't have the time yet or didn't have the power in my hand to write, because writing 10 pages a day is not my normal amount of writing. So I'm in between currently if I want to do it on a computer, which I know that will be a lot quicker for me, because I'm really not used to writing with a pen and paper. But on pen and paper you can also still show the emotion. My daily notebook is still on paper because I don't like Google Calendar. I use it for work, but I can't use it for my personal life, because if I'm really happy that I can go somewhere, then I can't write it differently. I can use a different color perhaps, but if I write it on paper, I can draw around it, I can draw lines or circle it or put stickers on it, or I can give so much more emotion with the writing. And I think for me it's so important. I can see in my handwriting also if I'm angry, if I have written it, if I'm bored, if I'm in a hurry, if I have written it on the bus. And that gives so much more than just the letters that you can read afterwards. I think the recipe where we describe the taste and the smell and some other things, it was really easy, but it also kind of opened up the creativity, that you didn't have to think somewhere deep inside, you didn't have to come up with a thing to write about, because you already knew what you will write about, and then it was just about the writing. The same way as to find like the connections between the two words, to find the similarity. It's because you always get something in your mind when you hear two words. So for me it was really easy, and I'm not sure if it's easy for everyone to just write about something and you don't have to put yourself into that. So everything that was this kind of impersonal was a lot easier, but I think the personal tasks were also really important. I think with the smell and the taste, it really is a good opening to something more serious, because it gives you the possibility to come out of your thoughts, so to say. Because as I said before, when you're writing, you can only be writing, you can't be thinking about anything else. And if you have a limited time to write and to do those really short tasks, then you can do only this short task. And you can see by the faces that everyone is doing the same thing. And it's it also creates the group feeling and feeling of belonging and so on. So I think it's a good start to really get started with something more serious. I think there is the non-creative writing as well, and that's the one you do on a computer when you write something, not when you do your homework, but sometimes it feels like doing homework is totally uncreative writing, because you're put into those limits. You can have so many characters, so many spaces in between. Don't use repeated words. Don't do this, you have to make commas and all the other marks in between. So you can't be creative. Those are totally creativity blocks. You can't put, because you get a bad grade if you use creative writing. Once my teacher didn't accept my homework because it was written with green color, and she rejected that one, saying you can only print black and white. It was just colorful printed. My trainer didn't accept the paper because I used orange pen that I wrote like by hand. So in somehow we are still pushed inside the limits, so we can't use all the creativity we have inside us. And I think the school has a lot to do with that, because I remember when I started school, we had to make those stupid lines, 1 point here, 1 point there, and then connect the 2 dots. We couldn't use just plain white paper because it wasn't allowed. You have to write in one line. You can't write diagonally. You can't write like in a circle or in a spiral. You have all those limits. So I'm not sure why we say that that people are not creative if we are just making it ourselves that way. How we even raise our children, that we give them toys that doesn't allow any creativity. That's why I really rarely give my child things that are something that you can't really say that they are something else. For example, wooden blocks. You can say that today it's a rabbit and tomorrow it's a brick and I will build a house with it. But if I give her a rabbit in the shape of rabbit, then it can't become a house the next day. So I'm trying every step of the way when she grows up to give her things that she can be creative with. So she doesn't own a doll, not because she doesn't want to or I won't give her one, but it doesn't, for me it gives her only one thing, and you can't do anything else with it. But with plastilene and with some clay and colors and magnets, you can do everything and you can be everything. And I can see her creativity even now when she's just 4, like how the imagination goes. And if we are building houses together with blocks, then mine are definitely not near as creative as hers, because there are no limits to her yet. She has been allowed to be as creative as she wants to. So of course she's really creative in writing as well currently, because she doesn't know all the letters, but she's still like trying to learn them. And well, yeah, I would say in a creative way, because when she sees a word, then she takes the word letter by letter and describes all the letters to me by the words that she does know already. So it's, I would say it's really creative reading that she's doing currently. But yeah, I think it all somehow begins with how we are raised and how we are schooled and what do we do after school. And